It is precisely at those times that communication is most vital to achieve your goals, that conversations break down most dramatically. That's why difficult conversations are scary. The stakes are high. There's a high cost to fail. And yet, that's when failure is most likely. Have you ever had a bad conversation?
Yes.
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 Yes. Are you afraid you might have a bad conversation tomorrow or this week? Okay. We all have bad conversations, and we're all worried that these bad conversations will continue. So if we can step confidently into these conversations knowing that we can manage the process, then a whole new world opens up. If I push and I say, you're wrong, what do you want to do?
You're wrong.
And what do you think I want to do?
Push back.
Exactly. You're wrong.
No, you're wrong.
Okay. So now we escalate. Everyone's spending a lot of energy, and where are we going?
Nowhere.
Nowhere.
We're pushing with our hands, and we're pushing with our words. And each one of us trying to push the other person out by saying, I am right, and you're wrong. And if you follow the rule, when someone pushes, push back, you're always going to end up stuck. So we need to change this. But now when you push, I'm not going to push back. And when you say you're wrong,
You're wrong.
I'm going to yield and say, well, show me, what do you see that I don't? You know, I'm from Argentina, so what does this look like?
Tango.
I'm going to turn this into a dance. I mean, she thinks she's right. And she's seeing something I don't because I think I'm right. So the first step in this conversation is for me to look genuinely and say, oh, that's what you're seeing. I couldn't see it because it was behind me. Now she's going to give me permission to say, can I show you what I see that you haven't seen before? So let me show you. And here, now I'm going to turn a little more. You see, this was behind you and you couldn't see it. You want three things out of a conversation. You want to feel good about yourself. You want to relate to the other person positively. And you want to achieve your goals. Get something done, solve a problem. We're going to call these three domains the I, the we, and the it. I is how I feel inside. I want to be proud of myself. I want to feel good. We is how you and I relate. Openly, respectfully, kindly. And it is, well, how are we going to solve our problems? How are we going to get the results that we seek? I would like you to be less sure of yourself when you walk in, saying, well, I see part of the world, but I don't know what they're seeing. And from their perspective, what they see is right. And unless I recognize that they see something that makes sense to them, we can't communicate. If we're not in contact, and the only contact is a clash, we'll never get to the topic. But normally, I jump to content, and I imagine you do the same. We just want to deal with the problem, and we forget that how the person feels and how we relate is primary. Contact, context, and content. Don't jump into content before you make contact with the other person. There's a saying, I don't care how much you know until I know how much you care. You have to show the other person you care before they will listen to what you know. When you do this well, it just seems so natural, so easy, so common sense, that the other person will say, well, we just had a great conversation. It was really sweet, it was nice, we solved the problem, and they will never know you're using anything. It's just being you, but better. There are things you can control and things you cannot control. You cannot control the outcome, but you can control the process. So let's look at what tools you can use to make sure you do your best in the I, the we, and the it.
For our engineering team as we grow.
The first tool is listening. Listening well, it's hard. It requires listening to the other person fully, which starts with not interrupting them. You have to pay attention and be quiet. This is especially hard when he is saying something that really irritates you. Your natural reaction will be to stop him. Well, that's the moment of truth. That's the moment when you stop yourself. You stay quiet and you pay attention because you're really trying to understand where he is coming from. What would you like to have happen?
So I would love for her to actually
The
feel
second tool is inquiry, asking questions. What do you think? Why do you think what you think? And what would you like given that you think that? After you listen, you have to let the other person know that you heard what they said. Well, let me make sure I understand. You're thinking about promoting her, and she's thinking she's going to get fired.
Exactly. So there's this
So you summarize what he said and ask him, did I get what you wanted to tell me?
and I've tried to reassure her.
It may
verbally
be
and-
that by summarizing what he said, he realizes now he didn't say something important to him, so he'll add it. This is a way for you to allow the other person, your counterpart, to share his deepest truth with you. That's a great thing to want. And it's totally out of my control. I can't help you through that. The next step of the conversation is to validate. You have to acknowledge that what they say is reasonable. You might be screaming inside, this is crazy. And maybe it's crazy for you, but I guarantee it's not crazy for him. That's why he's saying it. So let me try something. I'd like to. Now comes the crucial part, is to express your view safely. There's safety in I. When you speak in first person, you're not imposing your view on the other person. You're simply telling them what you think or what you feel. Notice the difference between you don't know what you're talking about and I don't understand what you're saying. Here's a suggestion. What if we... The next step of the conversation is to actually engage in a negotiation. You want to resolve the problem together. See, most people think of negotiation, how do I get what I want? I want to lower the price, I'll push you and you'll sell it to me for less, or I'm going to sell it to you for more. But this is really a negotiation. We're negotiating, how can we make this safe for both of us? Right. The last step of a constructive conversation is to formalize the agreement into a series of commitments. It's very different to agree than to promise. Another typical thing that happens in conversation is, we're so happy we agreed. Then I say, great. Now we walk away. We agreed, but nobody knows what's going to happen next. So the last step of every conversation is always, what are we going to do next? Let's make a commitment. And there's no commitment without time. So I said, by when? Can you prepare? Will we do this? Tomorrow, we'll meet in my office, we'll make this plan. So it's very clear, but it's not just a next step. It's a next step that we agreed and we both commit to. At the end of the conversation, you can do a process check to evaluate how did it go, and is there anything you can learn to make it better next time. The three areas to check are the I, the we, and the it. Do you feel good? Does your counterpart feel good? Have you related positively? Have you gotten what you want? Has she gotten what she wants? So what conversation are you afraid to have? And what can you do about it? Let me make a suggestion. First, connect with yourself. Ask yourself, what do I really want? What do I want to express? What do I want to ask? How do I want to relate to this other person? Then practice it, so you can stay connected to yourself when the conversation heats up. And then step into it.